Hey, what's up, everybody? Today I'm going to give you New Year Resolutions CPA edition. So these are going to be revolved around maybe your taxes or your personal budget or your business's bookkeeping. Now, I know it's late January, and so if you're going to make New Year resolutions, you've definitely already done it by now. You probably did it back very beginning of January, which is the typical time you would do this. But I also know that if you did that, you've probably already bailed on most of those New Year resolutions. It's a fact of life. It's what typically happens with those New Year resolutions. Hopefully, you're still sticking to yours, though. You're actually still going to the gym or you're still exercising and hitting those goals that you wanted to. But here's a few for you that I've just picked up on that I share with clients or friends or anyone who asks in order to help you out in this area based on my years of experience, over 10 years of experience as a CPA, helping clients out with these things. So the first one is to just create a tax folder. Now, I would say, in the past, it would be a folder in a drawer somewhere where as your tax documents come in or you get a receipt during the year that you need to keep, stick it in that folder. Obviously, now what you need is a file folder on your computer. So if you give a charitable contribution, scan it in, snap a picture of it, drop it in that file, move on. All right, if something comes in the mail, put it in that file. If you get an email that you need to keep, put it in that file. Just keep everything in one spot. Then when it's time to either prepare your return yourself or to pass it along to your tax preparer, everything's in one spot and you can pass it along. Number two, keep a real budget. Now, what do I mean by a real budget? Typically when people budget, they'll either look back at what they've historically spent and just write out, what their budget might be, or they'll create a goal budget on a worksheet or on an Excel file or on their computer or whatever, and then they'll say, okay, this is our goal budget. And then they'll stick that file away and they'll try to go keep their spending within that budget, and then maybe they'll look back at it at the end of the year or at the end of the month or weeks later and say, okay, did we meet it? No, we went over in this category. Okay, let's try to do better next month. All right, that's not a real budget. A real budget is one that is live and active in real time that can help you make decisions. I say this all the time. The budget should free you up to spend the money that you have prioritized to spend. Now that goes into my next one, which is eat out less. All right. Now I think maybe because of what's going on right now with all the pandemic and everything, that people might actually be eating out less. I think a lot of people are back to the carry out and eating out pretty normal. But this is the number one budget busting category that I see. Almost everyone that I talk to spends more than they think eating out because it adds up very fast and it costs a lot more to eat out than it does to buy groceries and prepare your own meals. And so my tip here is have a goal to eat out less. Save that money for something else. The next one, reconcile your bank account, okay? Now this goes personally, again, with those budget tips. Reconcile your bank account so that you know the transactions in your budget actually are all of them. It's inclusive. You didn't double count anything. You didn't miss anything. Reconciling your banking account is basically just making sure that the balance you have in your budget software, or if you're a business in your bookkeeping software, matches what's actually in the bank. It also includes any checks. Now, a lot of people don't write checks anymore, but plenty of businesses still need to write checks, and some individuals do too. But if you write a check, you want to make sure that you've accounted for it before it actually clears your account, because it could be outstanding. It might not have hit your account yet, but you've already spent it. You need to know that. So you need to reconcile any outstanding issues and make sure that what you've got as your balance in your checking account matches what the bank has, plus or minus any outstanding checks, deposits, or debits, or anything like that that haven't cleared yet. Your next New Year resolution is to look forward. Stop looking backward and start looking forward. What do I mean by that? Well, when you sit down here February or March to do your tax return, you're looking back. That's the majority of the time people sit down and think about their tax return. They say, okay, let me get the software, let me get the tax preparer who's going to get me a maximum refund, who's going to get me everything I deserve, find all these deductions for me, and make sure that I get that person or that software in order to not have to pay the most taxes. But you're looking back. Right now it's 2021. You're looking back at 2020 with your W-2. Whatever happened in 2020, you're looking back. It's already happened. You can't go back and change it. And you're doing a tax return that's a basic math problem where you've got to plug those numbers in. There's very little you can do at this point. Stop doing that. Start looking forward. In 2021, right now, start thinking about Well, what can I do? What are the things I need to do? What kind of income am I going to have this year? What kind of deductions can I make sure I qualify during the year? Let me make sure I get that charitable contribution in before the end of the year if that's going to be something that impacts me. Or let me make sure I get that retirement contribution in during the year so that we can do this. And so I sit down with clients a lot of times, middle of the year or towards the end of the year, anytime between July and November. We just basically say, okay, how's the year going? What do we expect the rest of the year to look like? What's that going to mean for our taxes? Okay, here's what you're either going to owe or get a refund. Is that what you want? Do you want to change your withholding? Do you want to make an estimated tax payment? What do you want to do? And we still have time to do it because we're looking forward during the tax year instead of just looking back when we sit down to do the return. So shift your focus and start doing that where you can do real tax planning instead of that after the fact gimmicky tax planning where people just promise you, to find you all the deductions that you either already did or didn't qualify for. If they're finding you deductions at this point, they're either making them up or they're just doing their job by reporting what actually happened. They're not actually helping you find new ideas or qualify for things during the year. The next resolution is stop doing it yourself. All right. Now, look, there's plenty of people out there. You got a W-2 job. You got a pretty simple return. The software, the nationwide software stuff is fine for that. There's no problem with that. Or you've got some experience with bookkeeping, and so you're going to do it for your business yourself, where it's very simple and you're just keeping track of transactions and giving the totals to your preparer at the end of the year. That's perfectly fine. I've got plenty of clients, not who are doing their own returns because obviously I'm the tax preparer, but I got plenty who are doing their own bookkeeping and it's working well for them. But I'm gonna encourage the majority of you that you probably need to stop doing it yourself. I've looked behind people before and they don't have confidence that they're doing it right. They're nervous. It's raising anxiety for them. It's causing them stress at tax time because either some just don't want to take the time to research and do it yourself. You'd rather pay someone else so that you can be free of that and not have to worry about it. Others have more complex situations than they think. The biggest side, though, here is bookkeeping. The leading software out there, I love it. It's fantastic. I have all my clients on it, but they almost market it as if you don't need a bookkeeper because it's so simple you can do it yourself. Well, the software itself is pretty simple, and you can write the checks or send invoices in there, and all that is pretty simple, and all that is flowing fine. But if you don't have the accounting piece of it, the chart of accounts, the balance sheet, the income statement, the items that connect to your chart of accounts, if you don't have those set up correctly, then every time you write a check or send an invoice, it could be sending it to the wrong spot. And then when you go pull your profit and loss, or you go pull your balance sheet to see what kind of assets or liabilities you have, it could be drastically incorrect because the setup of the actual accounting isn't correct. So if you don't actually know accounting, or you can't look at your general ledger transactions and tell if your financial statements are accurate based on the underlying information that you've been keying in, you need to find a bookkeeper who can do that for you. All right, the last one that I'm going to give you here as a New Year resolution is to start questioning your CPA, tax preparer, bookkeeper. All right, I've got another video. I think I just released it last week, so I'll put the link right here for you to jump to. But you should absolutely be asking questions of your tax preparer, CPA, or bookkeeper. That's not just questions to help you better understand the situation, but it's also sometimes you should be completely free, confident, and it should be welcomed from your preparer or your professional for you to ask questions and say, hey, I actually thought that it was supposed to be this way. Did you do this right? And ask these questions respectfully, of course. Or hey, I read an article on this, or I saw something when I was researching this myself that said I could do it this way. Can you explain to me why you're saying that I can't do it this way? Those are absolute questions that you should be asking. If you're with a preparer who doesn't welcome those questions, you need to find a new one or a new professional, no matter what it is, whether it's an attorney or a doctor or CPA. Again, don't go disrespectful where you ask them the question, they give you a good response based on their experience, their expertise, their education, all of their track record in this field. You don't just keep pushing and say, well, I think you're wrong. I read a Google article. Don't be that guy. But absolutely ask these questions and push back, because you're going to get to a better solution or a better understanding of why that solution that you thought was available to you isn't actually going to work for you. So make sure you do that. So there are your New Year resolutions from a CPA, focus there on your budget or your business or your taxes. And my name's Brad. I'm with Wooten CPA. My goal is to bring peace to your finance and tax responsibilities. I hope that these videos are helping to do that. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified when the new videos come out. And I appreciate you watching. Thanks.